Let's hope.
Looks pretty easy.
Yeah. Yay.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be live in a second if it's not live already, Charlene.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, there we are.
Yay.
Oh, do you hear what I'm hearing?
Oh, is it the music?
No, it's
Is it the Let's
wait.
know.
Okay. I just turned the volume off because I was hearing the YouTube episode as it was happening.
Hmm. So it's like reverberating.
Yeah, it's just repeating what I'm saying, like in another place on the same desktop. So I think I'm doing this right.
Well, it's our test.
It's
Our test
Yeah,
run.
it's live and someone's watching. Okay, well, great. There we go. And it's behind. So I just looked at it and I was doing this like a minute ago. 1 second. All right. Well, Sunday Spirit Sessions. Sunday Spirit Sessions. Here we are. I pulled a couple cards yesterday. Yeah.
How exciting. Nobody does this for me.
All right.
I mean,
So
that
I did.
that isn't true. I redact that statement. I have friends that pull cards for me. But anyway.
And it wasn't like I was like, oh, what can we do for Sunday Spirit? I just did it. And then I was like, you know what? Did this.
I love
And
it.
yeah, and so I used the Astro Botanical deck because
Yay. I don't have that deck. I have a ton of them, but I don't have that one. So I'm really, really, really excited.
it's really lovely. And I've done it with team members too, and they get very excited about these things. Um, and of course, the planets are doing what they're doing. Do you have any information about that?
Um, okay. I will say something that was big for me in the last year was realizing like we've been talking about the age of Aquarius for a long time, since the 60s or so. And it took Pluto shifting into Aquarius for us to fully be in that era. And that means that we're shifting consciousness in very big ways. Neptune, there are lots of planets that are doing uh, some big evolutionary work, which we've been doing since the dawn of time here. So I'm going to keep this brief. Um, we're shifting consciousness of how we perceive spirituality, how we perceive energy, how we perceive each other. It's all about shifting from survival mode to um, being more in a fair trade exchange, more when you think of Aquarius, the symbol of the person with two pitchers pouring equally, Spirit had me look at it more so like one going up, one going down. So you fill your cup as much as you give out if you're a service oriented being. But it's also that divine masculine, divine feminine, equal balance that can be both, it can be the picture in its typical forms, both flowing, but you're using both sides of your energy equally, not one over another. That's Anyway, I like to say it
So,
in a nutshell as
yeah.
possible.
So we're officially within that age that we've been kind of talking about and waiting for. Is that what you're saying?
We're shifting.
Whoa.
It's a very long, I mean, eras take a while to move into that energy, right? So like if you're going from like if you look going backwards, all of those eras, it didn't happen like that. It took it took some time to really get into it. And there was always, pardon my French, a shit show as you got comfortable in that new energy, you know? So we're in that little bit of chaos shit show.
Maybe we should introduce ourselves and what we're doing.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, so we're doing the Spirit Sunday sessions. I'm Laura Baum, founder of Laura's Botanicals, and
I am Charlene of the Rainbow Frequency, and I'm an energy balancing practitioner and holistic medium. So I channel for the all in a nutshell.
yes, and we're the Sunday Spirit sessions. Although we are, still figuring out what that exactly. I like the name of it though. I think it's good.
And I don't think we should overly define ourselves, really, because we should be free to grow and evolve as we see fit.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So a little bit of streaming, a little bit of discussion, a lot of definition, explaining as things come up. And I'm in my pajamas. I woke up and came out. So this is an opportunity to be relaxed and just say, yeah, I hear the spirit. It's calling to me and let's talk about it. Oh my goodness. So the card deck, every card deck is different. And of course, I'm very rather new to cards. But I didn't realize at the time that I was getting cards. I just kind of was like, plants. And then later I'm like, oh, these are about the dominions of the planets and things like that. So I did this. You could probably explain this better than I can, but I'm looking in my booklet.
Yeah, yeah.
This is the Tria Prima spread. So a 1, 2, 3 sulfur, mercury, and salt. So the soul is the essence or the origin of the situation, igniting influence. And so I drew agrimony, agrimony, which comes to me quite often in a lot of dreams. And
Uh,
also very clearly lately, I've been thinking agrimony, agrimony, very loudly in my head, agrimony.
clairaudient,
And
clairaudience.
so the indication for this is like a tortured breath, like when you can't get your breath and it's tortured, or the specific indication that Matthew Wood said was a tortured animal, and also tension. It's the primo tension remedy, and tension is like it's defined within holistic assessment. It looks and presents a certain way. And so when you think about a person who can't get their breath and they have a panic look on their face and they feel trapped, that's agrimony. And then they give you like a lovely, like energized water recipe that you can do in the summertime. These are just lovely little cards.
I
And
see
so
in them.
that was the essence or origin, igniting influence, agrimony. It's in the rose family. It's so beautiful. I love it very much. I've only seen it wild once, and it was like it's a moment that I have in my neurodivergent brain, like kind of like captured like a movie still, and I play that movie still in my head when I think about it. I love it. I
Yeah.
love movies, and I love how you can make them in your head all the time.
Yes, I agree.
Well, then we have our Mercury spirit, the present time potential for transformation. Is so this is kind of that shift, I guess. And yesterday I had to make a pretty strong herbal medicine for myself. Pretty strong. And I stopped on this plant and I was like, pay attention to this. There's something there. And then I drew it. Horsetail.
Oh,
Ah, horsetail. And
that's
you're
all.
moving, yeah. Yeah, moving into spring too. That's what it's gonna be. Harvesting, right?
Sorry, I'm receiving messages along with your cards, so I'm holding it in for you.
What? Well, go ahead and share one.
Well, okay, so far going back to agrimony, it really struck me with the pentacle, um, and that's the pentacle shape of the star is tying all the elements together with spirit to create that balance and protection. and it being the solar plexus, that's our sense of self-worth. So there is a lot of anxiety and tension that we feel, that fear of judgment. Um, and we do tense our jaw and like hold ourselves tight. We'll cross ourselves. So it's an energy. I love the
Hmm.
fact that the plant goes so perfect. I mean, that is the magic of spirit and how we connect and we can help ourselves, because it is all meant to help us navigate life and sustain ourselves as healthfully as possible. So I love that. And then going into the second plant with horsetail, again, to me, I see the tree shape, which is associated for me with the chakras of being grounded.
Mm.
So it's like releasing the tension, reclaiming your self-worth, grounding yourself in that energy. So that's what you have so far with what
Yeah.
you're saying. Like it's
Yeah.
coupled. It's
Yeah, I drew an air sign initially, and then I drew an earth sign. So yeah, it was
I
like,
didn't know that it was an earth sign. I just was That's what I felt.
yeah, yeah, and
I can't see.
also under the dominions of this of like the Aquarius signs too.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing because it goes with what we were talking about with the age of Aquarius.
Yes. That's why I was like, oh, okay. But the next one, you're gonna be like, what's happening? Okay, salt body. So three, the third card. This is the pathway to grounding and integration of a new state. St. John's wort.
Oh, yeah.
And St. John's wort is both under the sun and I'm sorry, yeah, it's both under the sun and the moon. So this is a plant that I'm like, what's going on? This is so incredible. And it's a fire sign, so it's a fire element. What a beautiful plant. What an incredible plant.
Which prior to connecting with you today, because when I meet with people, I sync up with their energy, and it's almost like we pre-chat. Like I started doing this as a hairstylist. Like it was almost like if somebody was going to need a big change, I would like sync in beforehand in the morning. So with you, it's a similar scenario. It came through for me to incorporate more ginger into my diet. But I've been ruminating on tea baths, and it goes so perfectly with this conversation because it's just that, like, salt is a purification. It can be a self care ritualistic practice that you incorporate, but by taking like a sachet, I never can say that word right. But anyway, a sachet and putting your herbs into it, you can create another way of having an herbal um, spiritual practice in your life. Now you go on with that with your bad self.
Yeah, no, I made a bag, like a protective bag for my aunt, and she keeps it in like this top drawer in her house. Like the intention is not taking it inside of your body, it's just this combination of herbs that I had gathered, and then I dried them and saved them, and then intentionally put them in these bags. So, um, yeah, it's important to capture windows, and essences because the plants are always in different stages. And St. John's wort is a really beautiful, gorgeous summer plant. I mean, it's
Yeah,
this really kind of like basic shrub in the spring months, and you're like, ooh, what's that? And it has all these little tiny glands on it that if you put up to the sun, you can see through because the glands are so
I'm growing it in my garden. So that's why I'm like, oh, I'm gonna have to do that. Or Laura, I'm so excited.
yeah, no. And I mean, I didn't realize it was under the dominion of the sun and the moon. So, that's great because generally it's one or the other. So it's a combination plant and it goes in whatever direction it wants to go in.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, and it is that going back to the divine masculine and divine feminine that's within us, which I will add to it, like take a tea bath, meditate, imagine yourself within a triangle or a pyramid, and I see myself in this on a beach, and I'm between the moon and the sun. So it's just for me, it's a very way. It's a very peaceful way to clear your energy and find your balance with the ancestors. And it's just
Oh, you said tea bath, not tea bag?
no tea bath, like bathing in the water with the salt. But the tea bag goes with the tea bath.
Well, that's really strange because the herbal preparation I made yesterday was a tea bath with salt. So there we go. Yay!
See,
Yes,
this is
dear. Yes.
organic live action.
I
This
made
is how it
compresses.
works, though. This is how it works. It's organic, it's natural. We sync up. Oh, I learned this recently. When you resonate with another person and you're on the same wavelength, your brain waves sync so that you create a super brain, which I do with my friends all the time. So it's just like it, and I recognize this in channeling. I love my job because when I sync up with other people, I get to know things and channel different types of information that to me I then get to see how it all comes together, and I'm delighted. I'm like, the universe, the creator, whatever you want to call it, is so flippin' amazingly cool, and how it all sacred geometry comes together is
Yeah.
that is it's magic. So I
Well, I mean, of all the preparations to have mentioned, a tea bath with salt is super specific. And
yeah,
that's exactly what I made yesterday. So I had visions of me pouring the rest of the concentrate in the bath and just sitting within it. But I decided just to go with the compress route. But it is something that I, in my mind, did. So part of me and part of my own self-healing is that intention of saying, and focusing on the goal. I have found that helps tremendously help my body get there. And I was told by a Reiki coach once, your hands are very powerful.
yeah,
And so I've included my hands as much as possible in my own self-healing journey.
yeah.
And it's incredible the results. I mean, really, we are so able to help our own body. It's tremendous.
Yeah, I teach workshops with people who haven't studied Reiki, and I teach them different simple hand placements of self healing. And I mean, yes, I show them what it feels like with my hands with and their hands, but their hands alone, they all feel their own energy and how self healing it is. So it's not something, it's universal. It's something that everyone has, and everyone has chakras in their hands, and they're meant for that. I mean, that's where it's so innate that when we hurt ourselves, we reach to touch the injury.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, it is mystical, but it's not so mystical that everyone doesn't have it.
No, that's why we have hands. Hands are not just for manipulation. They're conduits of energy. So, yeah, I mean, you feel the disharmony in your body, and you can when you're getting more in touch with that, you can feel things like as they're beginning to proliferate and change. So um it's great to pay attention to that and feel how powerful you really can be, and then ask the sun or ask the moon. You can really get the energy to help your body out. And I mean, it's incredible shifts, just powerful shifts to mentally say, we are now decreasing swelling. We are now moving the stagnation and seeing how it actually happens rather quickly. And herbs are just, they make it happen really
Yeah,
fast.
they're very powerful. Well, that, and it's just I find that I meditate the best in the bathtub. I also I'll do a lot of moving meditation, but when I make the bath, again, it's that ritual. I've spent the time and energy and the money to fill that bathtub, so my little butt is going to stay in and enjoy it and make use of the time. So I find I meditate longer with the music and everything. So it's just, again, it's a self-care ritual, and you have to slow down and be in that reflective contemplative state to get there, you know?
Yeah. You can do that with like, so I used compresses yesterday. So that's like a very intentional, like you're soaking the herbal tea with the compress, you're applying it to your body, you're gently cupping your hands over the space, you're bringing on a heat pad or a
Yeah.
warm thermos. And it's a very like process oriented thing. And that use of salt is a balancer of fluids. So it's really when we are bringing in a lot of herbs into our body that have mucilages in them, they have a lot of salts too. Plants have a lot incredible amount of salts.
Explain what a
And that just
mucilage is.
creates cellular balance.
Tell people what a mucilage is so that if they don't know.
Yes. So plants have a lot of different chemicals because they're defense mechanisms in their own environments or ways to keep them healthy or evolving because they're really cool and they react to their environments like we do. And they form different chemicals. And some plants have these mucilages, which are really complex carbohydrates or really high amount of sugars like inulins. And what it does is it creates a certain like a smoothness in texture and a goopiness when you try to extract it. So if you've cut open an okra vegetable before and there's a sliminess into it, that's the mucilages, or it could be polysaccharides or some other element in it that creates that type of sliminess. And so when you think of that sliminess and you touch it and you're like, oh, that's kind of soothing. It feels kind of good. Imagine slapping that onto a dry burn or a hot burn, like aloe vera, very mucilage-y, a lot of goopiness, and or taking it in directly into your body. Medicine, I mean, that's something I go into a lot with people. Medicine is not just this like capsule that's going into our body and going into your system. Medicine is like your ability to help your own mucosal states not dry out or de-swell. Your skin's an organ. You have a physical body that needs to be cared for because it's tissue. So, medicine is like everything that you can do to comfort, heal, rejuvenate, therapeutically support these barriers and the cells of your body, which always need hydration. And water should always be balanced with a little bit of salt because that salt, again, is a balancer of that fluid in the body. Fluid balance is primo.
Yeah. I will say people come to me for psychic advice or I channel. So they come to me for channeled psychic information. And a lot of times it is very simple, like check your electrolyte balance. Like you're having this issue. It's your electrolyte imbalance that's creating havoc. If we're mostly water and then we have neurons that are sending the impulses of the electricity through us, and that's what in scientific terms animates us. I mean, it isn't all that animates us, but if that's how we work, and that's then where strokes and different issues come up. It is very simply a lot of times diet, how you're tending to yourself, how like you're dehydrated, but or you're drinking too much water without keeping that salt balance, like you were just saying. So it's interesting to me where, you know, it is paying attention and treating your body as a temple, but in simple terms.
Yeah, foundational stuff. And people don't generally recognize that because they've been taught to think that medicine is something that is given to them, handed from outside authority. And so bridging that and saying, like questions like, well, how was your sleep? Why are we talking about sleep? Well, because sleep is a foundational routine. Did you know that sleep is like the number one thing to heal your body? Oh, no. Okay, so how's your sleep? Oh, well, not great. Okay, well, maybe we should start there. And nervous system regulation.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of the illness manifests from a lot of these emotional, mental disturbances, not just from the physical, or the
Yeah.
physical was
Yeah.
created from trauma or things like that.
We're in a chronic state of the from the people that I've seen and witnessed, both as a hairstylist, but also through psychic and holistic services, we're in a chronic state of stress. Our adrenal systems are shot. This is as a collective. Not every
Mhm.
single person's going to be feeling this way, but a lot of the people I see, that is the number one, like, you're in recovery. You need to recover your adrenal system and the balance. You need to reground and find your own equilibrium. Um, it's not, I mean, this is interesting to me. Like probiotics, uh, generally are good for people, but there are those out there that they're not good for. Eating fermented foods for some creates havoc within their system. So it's just that honoring your body and what it's telling you, because it isn't a one size fits all.
Mm-mm. Yeah. And like you said, that super brain, being in communication with other people and coming together and listening and feeling it out for yourself, taking that moment to really reflect and fine tune your own unique process. Well, it's 9 a.m. I think we're at the end of our first spirit session.
I hope everyone that watched it enjoys it and realizes that they can take ownership of their routine and self-care through this.
If you like this session, we'll be doing it again next Sunday at 8:30 to 9. And bring your tea or bring your coffee and tune in.